listening to the Astral Hour. I'm your host, Astral Meadow. Join me as we take a glimpse into the mysterious. Welcome everyone. Today I'm joined once again with my friend Mollymae of Thy Harmony Collective. On episode 16, we covered some of the different healing modalities she specializes in. But today, we're going to focus mostly on light language. Check out our past episode if you haven't already to learn even more about her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I'm so excited.
Thank you for coming out again. I always love seeing you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun to talk about this so openly and just really kind of express all of these amazing things that light language can hold. So I'm excited.
Right. Yeah. So could you share a little bit about what light language is and how you discovered it?
Yes. So I discovered it in a different way than I think a lot of people these days have kind of gone into it or gone about it. I came across it really naturally. I didn't know what light language was. I didn't even know that there was a name, a tool, anything about it. I didn't know anything. And so it kind of sent me on this journey of having to learn what it was because I experienced it. So my experience, I'll just kind of start from the beginning, is there's one day in my life that I can trace back all of my work to. And I've never talked about this before, and I'm really excited to talk about it. But I was in this group of friends and I hung out with them. I was like 18 and I was just opening up to kind of channeling and going deeper within my practice and everything. And all of my friends were doing a healing session on me. And I just openly started channeling light language at them.
Wow.
And I couldn't stop. Like, it was like I had no buffer between me and my subconscious kind of realm at that moment. And it was just an amazing experience. And so I was like, I didn't really think about it for a long time. But then I looked back and I realized that was the first time I actually openly channeled as an adult, which I'll go into too.
Yeah.
But yeah. And kind of how I found out like the history of light language was really interesting too. There were so many synchronicities with it that it's like hard to even like go back and kind of put all of those steps in order. But I looked up speaking in tongues because that was the reference that I knew. And
yes,
like,
that's what I was going to ask you. Is this similar?
Yes, it is. It is similar. For me, I feel a kind of difference just because I just know what that kind of what that word, like those words in the human collective kind of mean.
Right.
And I don't necessarily align with the energy that's being portrayed with it.
Right.
And I think the way that I do light language is so intentional. And I think that a lot of times it's just like coming out, it's always been intentional for me.
Right.
But then I discovered something even more fascinating. So I started making these, I knew what light language was at this point. I started making these light language activation, pictures and everything. And what I kind of discovered is that this is actually a proven thing within science too. There's this book, I don't remember the author's name at the moment, but it's about biogeometry. I had never heard about this before, but then it started coming into my sphere of like all this research that I was doing, and I was like, I've never heard that term before. And I started reading the book, and what's so interesting is that this man discovered all of these different forms of light language that can actually work to heal the body just through an image or drawing it on your skin or connecting with it in some way, shape, or form, which I just found super fascinating. It kind of merged two very different worlds for me because I was like, wow, there's a guy that's actually like promoting this. He's a scientist, like he has a PhD. It was just beautiful to kind of see how many synchronicities led up to the kind of that unfolding of where it used to be and kind of where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also a time where I was looking into like the culture that it stemmed from. And there's so many different references all over the planet around similar times. And there's so many to name that it would just take me too long. The one that people will probably know, at least in East Tennessee, is the Tower of Babel, which I found really fascinating because I believe that light language is the language of the soul. So it kind of doesn't really matter where it was or what it was doing. There's a lot of mention of it in South America as well. That's used in a lot of different practices, and that's actually where speaking in tongues originated from, which is really interesting. But they call it something different. It's different all over. But yeah, that's how I discovered it, and that's kind of how it's moved over the years.
Right. When you were saying like you can draw the image and put it over the body, it really made me think of like sigils. And
Yes.
if like the origin of the sigils that we use now that have been passed down was maybe just light language in the beginning, and then we like defined it, and now like we're still doing like the same spiral that our ancestors might have channeled.
It's so weird that you say that because before I got here, somebody gave me a bunch of the Reiki stones, like just with all the different symbols on it. And this guy that I hang out with, he's this amazing dude. He looked at them and he was like, "Wow, isn't it weird that light language looks like Japanese?" And I was like, "No, like that's actually Japanese." But some of it's not. It's all symbols, but some of it actually is Japanese because of like Reiki, where it comes from.
Right.
And I think it's so funny that he said that right before I was going to come on and talk about this. So yeah, it is interesting. I think that a lot of our language came from light language.
Right.
Like that's where we kind of started with that primal nature, learning how to speak.
Yes.
And it's fascinating. There's so much.
Right. Yeah. Because I think about like the first humans actually speaking for the first time, and they would just be making sounds and trying to be like, okay, I like this for that, and and like eventually try to understand, okay, do these sounds mean anything?
Yeah.
So like it's kind of just our true essence or something in a way.
That's why it's so hard to track like where it originated from,
because it was everywhere at one point.
It was totally everywhere, and like I've found it in almost every single culture, and like I even think of it as like mantra too. Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages, and like it like is the oldest language that's still spoken today,
right?
And I think about how that whole etymology of all of that too just like combines into light language too, and it's that understanding, that essence, that feeling that you bring up within somebody's body. It's fascinating.
Yeah, because I can do mantras. A lot of the ones I do regularly, I know what they mean, but sometimes I'll be in a group and I'll just do the mantra with the group. I don't really know the translation, but like I will feel different. And then at the end, when the group talks about what they experienced, like we all kind of had the same sensation. So I'm like, this mantra has energy behind it, and it's not, it goes beyond what my mind could conceptualize.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the language.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling stuff off of it. So it's super cool in that way. I definitely have thought maybe all this is a little bit, related to each other.
And there's even more with light language too, which is so, it's like, it connects into so many different things, especially when you take into consideration like the biogeometrics. Because if you think about the golden ratio, like it has this movement to it too, and being able to move that through voice,
right,
and movement and all these other things, it's so interesting to see.
Because we know with cymatics,
that
the different sounds create different geometries, and like that happens within our bodies, so like if we're listening to the didgeridoo, for an hour, like eventually we're gonna start resonating, and like like the image that sound makes, like our cells like kind of replicate that, and that's so wild to me. Like,
I know.
It's just crazy to me that other people aren't like interested in learning more about that. I'm like, why is like every scientist not wanting to get to the bottom of that?
And I'm so glad that there actually was somebody that was like, and it was so weird. I was watching something on Gaia. It's this new like sacred geometry show.
Oh yeah, Justin's been watching that.
Yeah, and he actually was talking about the author that I was talking about, and I was like, whoa, like, because the way I found it was just like random, like it was just like biogeometry. I was like, that looks like light language, like it just was so interesting, just the way that it all happened. And then he's talking about it, and I'm like, wow, something I've been studying for like 2 years that nobody knew about, like now has that kind of outlook on it too, like they can see what I'm talking about, which is so cool.
Right. Yes, Gaia's great for that. It like really helps me get all my thoughts like straight, and then realize that, oh my gosh, these actually are interconnected, and there's other people out here that that have made this connection, and I'm not like alone. Yes. Yeah, I was doing a painting the other day, and I wanted to add like this hieroglyphic look to the stones, and like I wasn't like looking at an image, and I was like, okay, I just want it to look like hieroglyphics, and I started just like my hand just started like making symbols, and it looked like it meant something, and I was like, when I was thinking about our episode, it made me consider like, am I doing light language? Like, do we kind of just naturally tap into it sometimes, or
that can totally. I've had it actually. Funnily enough, I've actually had a lot of people come to me and ask me questions about it in the past, and I've kind of worked with some people to kind of untangle what they're feeling, because it can be really intense. Some of the people that I've seen that don't have any guidance or anything, it can get really intense if you don't know what you're doing. And I mean, not exactly if you know what you're doing, just like learning how to handle it.
Right.
There was a person that I worked with who literally could not stop.
Oh,
like it was like could not stop. And I kind of relate to that, because when I was young, like that's kind of where it came up too. I did it to my mom all the time, and many kids have.
Right.
So it's a tappable channel always. Like it's never something that's like completely out of reach. But I will say I have to really take care of myself before I do it and after, because it's so intense.
Right.
Like, because you're hearing you're hearing all of these things, but you're also producing sounds from what you're hearing.
Right.
And so it's a lot of brain space that you're kind of working with and taking up, and yeah, it's just a lot of self-care. There was this event that I did at Ascension Yoga Wellness, which it was so funny to me, because I was in a room with all these other psychics and all these people, some of which I know have been on your show, which I think is so funny. And I was doing light language, and they were like, we feel you like so intensely, and we're trying to do readings. And I was like, I know. It's so intense. And it was so cool to kind of get that validation that like people, like everybody in the room was like experiencing me doing it, because I was doing it for doing like readings and stuff and activations. It was one of the coolest days, though. I kept having to like run outside to go and ground in between sessions, but I was very like flamboyant about it, which I thought was funny. I was like, running outside to go ground.
Right.
Because I feel it too, I feel it just as much as the person I'm working with.
Yeah, I've been utilizing my tuning fork more often, like whether I'm doing an astrology chart or a card reading, like these little things you wouldn't think would be as intense.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm a generator, so our aura like kind of engulfs another person.
Yep.
But like I was feeling like really bad brain fog and stuff after like basic readings, and then I would start feeling like the anxiety of like maybe what the person was going through. So now I've just been taking the tuning fork before and after, and it's like I can just walk away. Yeah, but that was a gift, you know, like
what we do at propagation is we like to wash our hands.
Yeah.
Like, and if we can't get to like a sink or something, like we all keep hand sanitizer in our car.
Right.
Because it's just that like mental thing, like, okay,
Like
we're
I'm
stopping
closing
this.
the portal.
Yes. And something, because we're all of us are so connected that like we can feel each other even at night, because we see each other like every single day.
Right.
You know, like we're always around each other. And it's just so funny because we know when somebody's like doing some magic.
Right.
And we can't sleep because of it. And so we always tell people in our community, like, go get a milkshake, have sugar and milk. Like, that is the one thing that will help you to like not channel.
Right. That's so funny.
We talk about it all the time. Like, everyone.
Wow,
so
that's cool. I never thought about that. So, is everyone capable of accessing light language?
Totally. I think like if you have the opportunity to study things about it, like I did, like it took me years to figure out all of these different parts and pieces where light language can really show up. And anyone can do it. But I will say, with having that guidance is really helpful, just because you learn how to interact with that space a little bit deeper.
Right.
And but also I can come at it from a different perspective and be like, yeah, everybody can do it, and they can go into it and learn from the light language. So it's like, it's kind of that in between, like, you know, anything that you put into practice, like you're gonna at least get a little bit better at, you know. And so I think about it like, what do we have this ecstatic kind of relationship with in this world? So like dance, like that's a form of light language, which I've seen many people do.
Okay.
Singing, for sure. That's the one that I predominantly practice. Like I mentioned before, like writing, drawing, painting, like those creative kind of expressions are really, like, I believe the most powerful things in this world, because we're creating through our momentum, whatever that momentum looks like, and it's just harmonizing with that balance, that current that we're on. And yeah, that there's so many different forms, and like probably there's more than like I'm thinking about.
Like basically anything that's expressing some kind of sensation or experience, or anytime you're like flowing.
Yeah. Anytime you're having an experience where you're connecting to something deeply. So what they talk about in biogeometry is how certain things in your home can make you feel certain ways because of like the colors. Like they talk about color theory a lot, which also ties into light language too. And, you know, where things are placed and how the shape of objects actually creates a certain sensation. So it's even deeper than we even know, you know, like on a conscious level. We're like, oh, I'm going to put this here. It's like, well, you might be like disrupting that channel, you know, you never know. But, I mean, I won't say you never know, because we're super intuitive beings.
I did not know about the dance one. That just like, I did know about writing and singing, but that just like made me reevaluate so much in my life, because even when I was a kid, I would always just tell people, I'm like, I'm a professional interpretive dancer. But like, I would just start doing like, I don't know if you ever saw the OA, but like this weird that she does on that show. Like when I was a kid, I would just start like doing weird stuff. So when I got into ecstatic dance, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my community.
Yep.
But there's so many like postures I'll get into that I'm like, I don't really know, like, where
you're opening that channel. Like it's just, I believe it's like another form of channeling, but you're channeling the soul's essence,
right?
You know, and it's like the way that it's moving through you, like almost this is like a really interesting visualization that I'm about to say, but like I imagine like a bunch of little light language going through the crown chakra, interacting with different parts of the body, like going into all those tiny, tiny little molecules and changing it in some kind of way to
like
produce
the meridians,
it.
maybe
Yes.
like riding the waves of the
100%.
meridians. I had an experience the last ecstatic dance I went to where before I went, I kept like getting this vibration of like the eagle, right? And then I drew a card. and it was white eagle, which was this Native American ancestor spirit. And so I put white feathers in my hair, and I just like fully embraced it. Okay. And I went, and at the end of the dance, this guy I didn't talk to the whole time, and I've never met him, he said, there was a big eagle that flew by me. And I was like, holy crap. But I mean, obviously, like I was like doing like wing things because I dance with Isis wings a lot. So like I naturally fly when I dance.
Yeah.
But he wasn't talking about me, but it was like that the eagle that I had kept having come up was actually in the room with everyone.
Whoa.
And I feel like somehow like
so
he could
cool.
see it with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe it was something like where I was dancing and like channeled the eagle
or just
down.
like even on a collective level,
everyone was like flying and soaring with the eagles. Oh my god. I just loved it. But yeah, you just blew my mind with it. I'm gonna be thinking about that for weeks now,
so cool.
Yeah. So do you teach light language? And if so, what's a class with you like?
Yeah. So I do teach light language. It is kind of something that I really feel like everybody interacts with it in a different way. I really love doing one-on-one classes. I'm a fairly private person for the most part, and it's nice to be able to have that kind of connection with one person. I'm thinking about possibly doing one that's like a group thing. But I do believe that everybody experiences it just a little bit differently. Yeah. So I like to really cater to one person. And what we'll do kind of as like a short little process thing is we go through like kind of some of the things that I talked about in like a deeper way. I give like advice on different reading materials and stuff like that. And we'll go into where we try to move past the subconscious beliefs that what you're saying doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Because that seems to be a big thing that people are like, well, I don't even know if this works. You know, like, I don't know if this actually is interacting.
I'm just making this up.
Yeah. And like, that's a big thing that does come up. And what I really believe is like, I've seen it do really cool things.
Right.
And like I've seen people just start bawling, crying, like right in front of me. And I'm just like, wow, like it's so interesting to me that like those particular resonances interact with people in different ways. Because some people don't, you know, like it's just how you're tapping into that channel. So it's like, there's a lot of things that like, I think that as somebody that really values ethics, I think that it is a really good thing to kind of look at where would you be using this and why?
Right.
And in what kind of setting would you be connecting into this particular energy for somebody else?
Right.
Or even just for yourself. But yeah, it's a really cool process. And then I kind of will push you really hard to kind of get you past that mental doubt and to let your channel out. And it can be like, I will sit there and channel in front of you and wait until you start responding because it's intense. It's really cool. It's really telepathic too.
Right.
Like I've had a lot of friends that just kind of like simultaneously started doing it too, and they had no idea that it existed because I'm like, here's like some random things that I do.
Right.
But it's so much fun to watch people like open up. It like is this huge breath of like pure channel, and I'm like, I love that I could see people like in this way. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like.
I feel like the one-on-one class would be good too because even in ecstatic dance, like the first couple times I'll take someone, they're like, I just feel like I look stupid, and they're like very, the ego's still there trying to be like, want to keep them safe, or like, don't humiliate yourself, don't be too this, don't do that. Like, God forbid you get sweaty and people see it. Like, I don't know, like all the weird stuff that I've like managed to somehow get on the other side of. But like, I still see that with people that do stuff for the first time, and it is, kind of putting yourself out there. So I think that one-on-one, like, it just can make you feel more comfortable, and like you're doing it, so they're like, well, I'm not weird because she's doing it with me. And I feel like you're just such an awesome person for this because you just help people get into that comfortable vibration. Like when I did my BQH with you, it was like I felt very safe and supported, so I could go easily into that state I needed to be in because you have such a nurturing energy. And like you just, I don't know, I feel like you embody like just allowing people to express themselves in their truest form. So like because you embody that, like other people feel safe to actually be themselves, and that's not everybody has that kind of energy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I really like, I love like hearing how it's been funny. The last week I've had so many people tell me that I've been inside of their brain, like telling them things, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like my soul is just out wandering and like connecting with all these people.
Right. Yes.
It's so funny. They're like, I heard you in my brain. I'm like, I don't know what I was sending out, but hopefully it was something good.
Right. I do get like that with certain friends of mine.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm like, I can actually like channel into them and know exactly what they would tell me to do in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, because I know them so well, like I'm so used to that energy that I can just, it's almost like we can shift into that vibration of them.
Yep.
And in that moment, like we could just ask them any question and they would be like, oh yeah, I like milkweed or whatever. Like they would answer the weird thing. And like, I almost wonder if you could confirm it in some way, but definitely with my close friends, I feel like they don't even have to be there.
Nope.
You know?
Definitely not. There's like no separation when it comes to that type of connection. Like there, I mean, any connection, honestly. But...
Right, because like the law of one, you're just like, well,
yep.
No wonder you were in my head at that moment.
There was this guy yesterday that I was talking to, and he was like, well, I'm just you and you're just me, and like we're just talking to like ourselves. And I was like, I love that this is my reality, that people that I don't know are just coming up to me and telling me these things. I'm like, it totally made me shift my perspective. I was like, I have never met this man. This is so cool.
Right?
It's so weird. And he was like, I don't meet people like you and your husband every day. And I was like, honestly, like, I feel like I kind of do.
Yeah. Well, that's me with the podcast. Like, I said something the other day and I was like, yeah, like everyone like reads tarot now. And the girl was like, really? Because like everyone I know is against it. And I was like, oh,
really?
Maybe that's just like everyone in my life reads tarot now.
Yeah.
Like everyone does Reiki. Everybody. Yeah. It's like so rare for me to meet someone that like doesn't know what Reiki is. Yeah. You know, and like I'll have to like, you know, start at the beginning sometimes with people with certain topics. And I'm like, this is just so weird because I honestly haven't went to the beginning in so long of this particular topic that I have to put myself in the other person's shoes. But I think sometimes, you know, I might not realize just how blessed I am to have a community of people that I do resonate with in that way. But I mean, obviously I had to create that by like cutting ties along the way, and
definitely,
you know, but as a generator, like once I'm in alignment, everyone just, you know, I pull them in to my aura. So I meet the coolest people, and I don't even like seek it, you know?
Same. Like, it's just like, something that is this joke that has been coming up a lot between me and some of my friends and my husband is anytime we go somewhere, like, I don't know, like, go out to eat or something, like, somebody random will just be like, y'all look cool.
Right.
We're like, thanks. We're like, it's so weird, but it's been happening more and more recently because I think that people are kind of just opening up because, like, me and my husband are very expressive with ourselves. Like, we don't follow the traditional kind of movement. I think that honestly also like the way that you dress could also be light language too.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because it's expression.
Yeah. Like anything that's I didn't even think
I do
about
sort
that
of channel
now.
my outfit sometimes. Like sometimes I'll look at like what I'm wearing and I'm like,
I have dreams about what I'm going to wear the next day.
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, so I need to wear it. It's so weird.
I'll even do it and I'm like, it'll be like some skirt I haven't seen in like 3 years. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to go find that now.
Like digging through all your clothes.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one with this experience.
It's actually been more of a recent thing for me. I'll wake up and I'll tell I'll be like, hey, I think I'm supposed to wear this thing today. And like he's like, cool, like that's weird.
Isn't it so great to have like a partner that it just gets you? Like I think all the time with Justin, I'm like, I don't think I could ever be with anyone else because they would think I was just completely wild, but he's been there with me through so many of the experiences I've had that like it's validated with him. But I'm like, if I started over with like, if I like went on a dating site and like tried to meet somebody, like every one of them would be like, wow, I didn't know this girl was crazy. But like, I don't know. It's just so nice to have like the support of, okay, like, that makes sense. Sure. Like wear the ring today.
I mean, my husband is definitely crazier than I am. Like, and I like, he would say the same thing, but honestly, so much fun to be around. Like, we always have fun. Like, anywhere we go, it's just like pure and total enjoyment, which is so amazing to just have that kind of connection. Like, I literally did not know that was possible.
Right.
Like,
well, that's with you guys both being super intuitive and all of that. I'm sure that like, me and Justin are like that too. It's like we can like feel each other in so many ways, like our thoughts. Like I know what he's thinking. He knows what I'm thinking. Like sometimes he'll actually say the word I'm thinking out loud and I'm like, get out of my head.
I just tell E that he's thinking too loudly because it's so true. Like, and it's funny because his whole family is like that. Like they're all like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. You watch them at like dinner. They don't even need to talk to each other.
Right.
Like they're actually practicing telepathy. Like, and they'll like point and stuff to like get your attention. But I'm like, what am I even witnessing right now? This is so cool. But I've started to do it too. And I finally got into like their brainwave space and it's just constant telepathy. And we're like, but it can also be really weird if
when you're trying to like
do
your own thing.
And you're channeling into all of those things at one time. You're like, oh, there's so many people.
Right. It's loud here. Just need some space.
It's totally quiet, but it's loud.
Right. Yes. I definitely have the clairaudient thing is probably my biggest clair.
Same.
And I just like, I'll literally hear like someone say like really loud words in my head, or I'll start hearing music. I've heard instruments that don't even exist like on Earth, and I'm like, there is nothing that sounds like this.
I don't know what this is. I can't explain it because I would have to make sound.
Right, but that might be the light language or something, where I'm hearing like the music of the spheres, but no one else is hearing it. You know, like. So, I definitely have to like try to turn the volume down sometimes. And you actually kind of taught me this when we did BQH because I went to this lifetime and it was really bright. It's because the city was made out of crystal and it was reflecting the sun.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so
I do remember that.
Yeah, when I was walking up, you were like, what does it look like? And I was like, I don't know, I can't see. And you were like, asked my guides to turn it down. And
that's
like,
something I do.
You like gave me permission. And, like at that moment, I was like, oh, I can just be like,
oh wait, I can do that.
Right, I can just ask them to turn it down. You know, but I just never thought. I didn't realize I was that powerful. That I could just literally make the statement of I need to hear my own thoughts right now. Please stop, or like please turn the lights down. It's really bright. Like. So.
I do that a lot with my clairaudience too, and like my clairvoyance and clairaudience are the most. Like I've had to set. There was one time I was in a ceremony, and I literally heard everybody's thoughts, and I was like, "No, this ain't gonna work."
Right.
Like I literally, like me and my guides had a sit down conversation, and I said, "Nope." Like I was like, I have things to do. Like I cannot be in people's brains all the time, and I'm like, nope.
That's so funny.
Oh god, it was so
I love that you've had similar experiences to that, because sometimes I have asked myself like, what the heck is going on here? But it doesn't seem like it's not a bad thing, but it is overwhelming.
And you're like, I need to go crawl in a hole for like 3 days and just like not do anything.
I'll get tired sometimes. Like I'll just get so tired, and I do not have a logical reason to give to people for why I have like no energy, but I feel like it's because I'm tapped into all of these different things and I'm like affected by them, so like when something big happens in the collective, like a big storm or whatever, I just like get exhausted from like the stress of the collective. And this might be the 12th house stuff because I know it's very tuned into the unconscious. So it's like, I don't know. I can't consciously tell you why. But I'm like, it's just a big energy right now. And like, I just need to lay in bed for 2 days. And I'm really sorry about that. I'm not sick. I'm tired. You know?
I definitely have to take a lot of time to recharge. Like, I know after my regressions, because they can take so long. And not that that's a bad thing at all. I absolutely love being able to do it.
Right,
But
right.
it's draining.
Yes, I couldn't even imagine
Like,
how tired I feel after doing some astrology charts sometimes. I couldn't imagine with
yeah.
your 3-hour regressions.
Yeah, or more. Like, I mean,
Right.
my first session for myself was 8 hours.
Wow.
Like, I mean, but I went into it being like, all right, we're going to get all this answered. Like, let's
Yeah.
knock it out. I couldn't walk, like,
Mhm.
after my session.
Yeah, I was
Like,
so tired after ours that
exhausting.
after it, I had an Akashic reading, and I was like, well, if I'm tired, I would rather just do an Akashic reading because, even when I mean, obviously you're guiding it, but I was doing the work as far as, I'm in there, I'm seeing it, I'm having to talk to people. So, at the end, I was like, I am so sleepy. I was like, I have to drive home, and all I want to do is just eat and go to bed.
Yep. That's why I tell people to eat potatoes afterwards.
Yes,
I'm like,
I am
potatoes.
Potato queen,
Yep,
okay? I'll give up everything, but I will not give up my potatoes. But they do. I mean, they literally are
They're grounding.
under the earth. You have to dig them out
Yep.
to get them. So, yeah, there's something special about potatoes, I swear.
My dad actually wrote a series of poetry about potatoes.
Shut up.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I went into the records the first time the other day by myself, and I knew that I was connecting with my dad because he called me Tater Bud. Huh. My dad and me have a weird potato thing too. And I was like, oh, this must be my father. Because no one on the earth would ever call me Tater Bud but him.
That's amazing. I love that.
That's cute though.
We both have weird potato things.
With our dads.
He went into the science and somehow wrote poetry about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Very interesting, dude.
I love it. That might be the most random thing I've heard all day.
You're welcome.
I love it. Oh, okay. So how can people incorporate light language into other healing modalities?
So the biggest place that I incorporate this in is in my regressions. And so when people are already in their subconscious state, I think it's I've obviously done light language in just personal sessions and things like that and not gone as deep with people, but when I do them in regressions, it's just amazing. It's because you're open, you're just there, you understand the channel,
right? Because
you're in it, and I think that the best way to incorporate this in other modalities is, like I said before, recognizing where and when you would actually use this,
right? Because
it is so powerful if you give it that intention. Because I have to constantly keep that intention in my mind. It cannot leave because otherwise it's just not coming through.
Right.
And I know exactly when to stop too. It's so interesting. But really, you can use this in Reiki. You can use this. I probably wouldn't do it in tarot, but any kind of talking kind of therapy too, because you can give your client space to breathe and just feel and experience. And I think that's one of the coolest gifts that you can give someone. That's why I do it in my regressions a lot, is because what we're going through is so energetically intense,
right?
That we need to have some kind of buffer before we do anything else, because that body needs healing. We need to put something else in it rather than just channeling from the past. And that's just my personal kind of feeling about it. But I mean, and there's so many different modalities you can use it in. It doesn't have a structure because it's almost like biology. It's just how our channel works, spiritual biology.
Right. Spirit science.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it really just depends. You have to work with light language though. You have to get to know it, how your personal language is coming out into the world and creating these, whether it be synchronicities or something else is coming into that person's body or experience. because I've really had people tell me that it's work to kind of move things out of their body and they can feel it.
Just like an aura cleanse.
Exactly. And so I think like, yeah, in Reiki, that would be really interesting. But I mean, for me, it just only makes sense for me to do it with some type of like induction and kind of getting people into that space meditation.
Especially
like, really,
if the like your clients specifically, a lot of times with past life regression, they're seeking healing anyways.
Yeah.
Like there's something in the present that's connected to that past.
Yeah, I work with a lot of people with chronic pain too, so that seems to be like a big kind of thing that just comes up. And it's interesting because light language allows you to kind of move away from your person and feel what your person is doing and how the self is kind of taking in and downloading information to the body from your external experience. And I always love to hear, like, it's so funny. I've been doing light language in like at the beginning of some of my events for a long time too. And it's just kind of getting people there, especially my intuition circles. Like that's a huge one. That I'll do it like randomly at the beginning or whatever. And just to kind of get people in that spectrum of tapping into their intuition, subconscious, whatever it may be, to connect with others. Like it is limitless on how you can use it. Like you could actually use it in tarot, in writing, in like there are so many things. It's like there's so many. It's like it's limitless because human potential is limitless.
Right.
There's no limit on there.
I love it because I'm just sitting here thinking about like the age of Aquarius and how Aquarius is like beyond the boundaries of Saturn or whatever. So it's all about
That's my rising.
Yeah. Your Aquarius rising? Me too.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's why we're weird.
Yeah, we're super weird.
But I think about like boundaries a lot and like pushing past that and like these healing modalities where that really do just even like the Akashic records, like it's timeless. You can go like back, forward, now, like, and it's all happening. And like we're kind of discovering all this stuff right now as we're transitioning into the age of Aquarius. And I feel like healing is going to continue to look different, and we put these restrictions on it, like, oh, you have to take this pill, you have to do this thing, but it's really unique to the individual in the moment.
Yeah.
And so the healing keeps changing.
Yeah.
That's
why I really like light language too, is because no two sessions are the same.
Right.
Like, we don't know what's going to come through a lot of the time. Like,
right.
I mean, I don't know at all. Like, I know nothing. I don't know anything that's going to come through. All I know is that this person most likely has an intention for what they're looking for.
Right.
And my job is to create that resonance that allows that healing to happen.
Right.
Which is so cool.
Thinking that it would be really great for like trauma therapy and stuff where because you're doing past life regression, so those are past wounds, and I'm thinking trauma therapy is dealing with past stuff, so it really can like almost like reset you,
but you got to get past that vulnerability.
Right.
It's a huge thing because so many people are like not open to like I know that this is a very niche thing,
right? I get it, right? We talk about it like it's just like everyday stuff, but yeah, if we go out into the world, people are like, what the heck?
Like I say light language to so many people, and I have this funny interaction when people actually know what I'm talking about, like at least with this, like other things that I do, yes, like a lot more people know about it these days, but like when I talk about light language, they're like, what? Like, huh? I'm like, well, it's like channeling, but different. And like, I just, because I don't go in and explain all the things to them, but it's so funny to me. But when I do meet somebody that knows what I'm talking about, I'm like, oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's, for me, it just, like you've introduced me to it even more today, but like anytime I have come across it, it just seems to make sense. Like it just... like, as a generator, it's like this yes or no response. So I have this very keen, like, discernment. And light language has always, every time I've been introduced to it, it's yes, every time. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep riding this out and learning more. And so I'm just, like, not closed. I'm, like, the opposite of closed off to it. I'm like, it is boundless. Like, it can change day to day. So, yeah, when we did it, during the BQH, it was really intense. Some of the places I went to where I had no idea even existed, and it was a lot a lot.
Yep.
And I remember by the time we got to the point where you did the light language, it was like I couldn't even think anymore, and I was just a vibration, and there was like a point where I just felt like I was just being whipped around, like I wasn't in my body. It was like my
Astral body.
my astral body was like on this like what was there was this like fair ride when I was a kid. It's not the and it like moves in a circle really fast.
Oh yeah.
Like the
That's pretty
gravitron,
normal.
the
Yeah.
gravitron, but I just felt like
Super
I was
normal.
being like moved, or like maybe even like on a boat where I was riding waves, but I was definitely like weightless.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't think about all the stuff we had just talked about anymore because I was
Better
just
that you don't.
right, because I was just like in the sound.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. I'd never experienced that before,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if I fully knew what it was before then that you were about to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of creates a good element for people because they're like, well, she's doing the thing. This is
Right.
weird. And then they're like, oh, wow, this feels really good.
Right, because you get so relaxed that you're totally out of your body.
Yeah. Like and like, it's like, I know this on a core level too, that it's not for everybody.
Right.
Like, and I'm totally cool with that because there's so many people that resonate with other kind of things, modalities, stuff like that. But I think it's really important to like, if it could have a possibility of
Right.
like resonating with you, like just
Right, if
try
you're
it.
feeling that yes response every time you hear the word light language in this episode, maybe it's for you.
Yeah, maybe it's for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So what are some of the benefits to learning and practicing light language?
Gosh, it helps you kind of get out of your own head. If you're doing it consistently, but it also just allows you to like tap into that channel, that inner knowing, in a way that I think a lot of practitioners kind of don't let themselves kind of get to that point of vulnerability. Because I've had people look at me in all kinds of ways. There was one time when somebody was looking at me and they were like, this chick is nuts. And I was like, I'm cool with that. Like,
Right.
totally okay with it. And like, I laughed with the dude after the
Yeah.
fact. Like, I was like, I don't even care. Like, it is
Right.
just about your personal relationship with your channel and seeing how it can adapt into bigger and bigger things into your life. Like, I kind of think it's just another layer of opening up to what's possible around us. Like, if you're actually using the energy of spirit in your life, like you're moving it through you, like there's so many different ways you can do that, you know? So it's cool to kind of see where people end up with it, but there's so many benefits. It can help with like moving past blockages, like your own trauma, you know, if you use it on yourself, like it's even cooler. Like there will be times I'll just go out in the middle of a field and start channeling light language because it feels so good and I feel so present, because you can't really like, your mind can't really wander.
Right, it turns off the monkey mind.
Yeah, it's just like dead switch. Like it is so impactful, but also that takes a lot of courage to kind of get into that space where you're like, okay, these people aren't gonna like throw tomatoes at me, you know, like I don't know where they got the tomatoes.
Yes, I feel like when I had the light language with you, it was a similar energy that I felt after like having an Akashic reading, which is this love. And there, like when you're in that space of love, there's no fear. You realize that everything is in divine order.
Yep.
It's like you can trust everything, and then that's where the healing comes from, because like you're no longer attached to the fear, and you can let go of so much,
and you can process so much. Like there's so much that, like, honestly, I don't even know how it affects people fully, like at least that I do for other people. Like I can only speak for myself when it comes to that, because like I have had a woman and she just could not stop crying, but in like the best way.
right? She
like,
probably really needed to release that.
really needed it, and it was one of the only things that she could do to move through what she was feeling. And I was like, and she didn't need anybody to talk to, she didn't need anybody to, she just needed someone to help her feel,
Right.
and not to talk about it, like do it, like right then and there. But also Light language is a great protector. If you are in a difficult situation, like I have been in some really weird situations, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I can use light language, and it changes it. Like I've witnessed it, how protecting it can be. And like I've had instances with like feeling super unsafe in a situation, and then flipping that script and just channeling light language and like throwing it out there to kind of contain my energy within myself, but also pushing it outwards to change the energy of where I am
around you.
So it changes your perception,
Right?
and which is so
you go into a different vibration.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the most like it's like the perfect redirection for me. And it's just energy interesting because there is no fear with it, like at all. You're just like open, and you're not caring about anything else in that moment. You're just using that particular intention. So pretty much I would say like any intention that you have, you can put that into the benefits category.
Right. Because I didn't think about it being protective, but I do have mantras that I do.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here thinking, well, that is, it's just like prescribed by someone else that worked for them. But with that whole boundlessness, like there's so, I could create my own mantra within that moment, or I can repeat what someone else has taught me. And that works too, for people that maybe aren't as creative or don't feel so tapped in, like that they do want to do something that's already been done.
Yeah.
But we actually are like infinite beings, and like we like the person that channeled those mantras was like tuning into what you're talking about. So like,
and I think about that even like with, you think about the word language, like how it's called light language.
Right.
Like think about what that means for like etymology as a whole. Like how language developed and formed and overlapped. I think that's why I find it so fascinating, just going into etymology and really sinking into each word. I've been doing a lot of reprogramming when it comes to the words that I use.
Right.
Like instead of understanding, I use understanding because I'm not under anyone.
Right. Yes, I catch myself saying stuff too sometimes, like just out of habit, and I'm like, actually, that doesn't I feel the no response.
Yes.
When I say it, and I'm like, why?
I'm like, no, this isn't it.
Right. Because it puts like a limit on something, and you don't even think about it because you're just saying what other people have said.
My husband will go, don't be limiting. Like every single time. And I'm like, oh, all right. I got to like reevaluate this.
Right. That's good though. I love, we're always coming back to that and, reanalyzing and rethinking about things. And that's because we're like so adaptable and we realize that that's important, because that's how you learn like new things. That's how you can change the future. We can't change the future doing exactly what our ancestors did because that formula's already been worked.
Yeah.
And we know.
And they want us to do something different most of the time.
Right.
They're like, we want food and to do something different.
Right. Yes. Because we are living in different times. Yep. So like, why are we not evolving with that? Some of us are. I feel like with you being Aquarius rising, and I have that with my North Node there. And I really do feel like this is like my dharma is to show people that, it is like there's endless ways to do like energy healing even. Like Reiki is a single way to do energy healing, but like you could actually come up with your own Reiki.
Yes.
Because you're that powerful.
Yes.
Okay.
That is what
Create
we talk
your
about.
Own symbols, right?
Yeah. That's what I do in my intuition development program too, is like I literally put people in the position of having to understand those symbols like within themselves. And that's something we do at the propagation of creation all the time is we tell people, like, even when we're teaching something, we go back to the authenticity within ourselves to be like, look, like, you're going to do this in a different way than me.
Right.
Like, and I want you to.
Exactly.
Because otherwise you are not going to resonate with it. You're not going to use it. You're not going to be in it as much because
you're almost imitating at that point versus like fully experiencing
it. You have to let it go through you, like process through those understandings. Like, don't word vomit somebody else's words in somebody's face. Right. Like, it's not yours. You're not going to feel the same way about it.
Yes, for sure. Yes, this whole thing is making me think of Aquarius, man. I just can't stop. I'm like, age of Aquarius. But yeah, it's just we're in it and it's shifting, and I'm excited for it, you know, like, because because of like people like us, we're already in it and we already see the shift, but people like that aren't even, you know, thinking the way we are starting to ask questions, or they're like, oh, I saw something in the sky or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, well,
that's just every day, bro. Like, literally, I wish I was, like, sometimes I wish I was joking, but like the life that I know that like both of us tap into on a daily basis, like, is just so dramatically different than what we've been told.
Right.
And like the amount of unlearning that comes with that, like, it's just so intense. Like, I have like, I'll go back to like my childhood, like at least once a week, if not once a day.
Yeah.
Like, to be like, oh yeah, that's another thing I have to unlearn.
That's a limiting belief. Yeah. And this really hit me when I was doing EMDR, because there were so many things that someone had said to me that I believed as a truth that actually was an opinion.
Yes.
And like my body and my mind and everything, like it just like believed that. And then when I was doing EMDR, I was like, oh, I need to like go back and like reprogram that.
Yes. Oh my
But
gosh.
it happens all the time. I'm like, oh, that actually wasn't my thought. Actually, like my grandma just always said that, you know, but I never actually experienced that. So like maybe I'm sort of like living out her beliefs in a way that had nothing to do with me.
I channeled this really cool thing, kind of, I don't know how we got onto the topic of ancestors, but I love it so, well, no, it makes sense because of light language, for sure.
Right.
So, like, I was talking to somebody, I don't really talk about that I do this very often, but I do it, and it's just, I'm being transparent here. I've been doing a lot more mediumship sessions recently with people, and something that a spirit channeled through me has really stuck with me, and I know that if things stick with me, because like most of the time they don't, because I have a really good way of like forgetting everything.
Exactly, yeah.
I can't hold that much in my brain.
Exactly, yeah.
But I said, or the spirit told me that every time an ancestor dies, it's like all of that work that they did goes to you, and everything, all of their gifts, all of their everything goes directly to you in that moment.
Right.
And I was just like, whoa, like that took me back a lot. It was just, I felt all of it. And I was like, that makes so much sense for how we interact with our guides, our angels, our ascended masters, even the people who have passed on as well. It's just this really amazing, like, astral ecosystem, you know?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I kind of stumbled upon this when I was going all the way back to like the origins of Earth and people on Earth. And I can't remember which cycle it was. It might have been like before Lemuria, but maybe after, where ancestor worship started. But it specifically talked about how at that point when the ancestor died, that everything was integrated. And that's where ancestor worship came from. Okay.
That's so interesting.
And like, so, but this was like before like Buddhism or all the Eastern stuff where they like kind of, I don't know if Buddhism does that. I can't remember. Maybe it was Shinto. But, I was like, this might be where that started. But it was like, this was a Rudolf Steiner book where he was channeling the Akashic Chronicle. And I was just like, oh, okay. So that's where ancestor stuff started. But before that, like it didn't, like it was like it didn't integrate in that way. But there was a specific point in our history where that happened.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder what age that was.
Yeah. Dude, I'm going to look at my notes because I took intensely detailed notes when I read that book.
Like, I totally resonate with the fact that you do research like I do research.
It's
like,
all those heavy earth placements.
Yeah, I'm just like, get out the books, guys. Let's do this. Like, I literally want to like have like a group of people that's like, let's just study together.
Yes, I want that.
Not
so
even the same
bad.
thing.
Right. I can't do the same thing.
No.
I've tried to join
join
book clubs and I get extremely bored with that. Like even with Life as Guru with like Philip, like he kind of picks his topics, I pick mine, and then we find a middle ground. But I actually enjoy kind of like having my own freedom.
Yes.
So like if I really want to go into vitality globules, I will. Like I have that ability. So Yeah, I love that. Like we're all learning together. Like I have some
Mm-hmm.
friends, you know, and they might be really into plants and like permaculture and all this. And I'm like, thank you so much for doing
Yes.
this work because
Yes.
like I'm somewhere else with, you know, my studies right now, but I'm very interested
Mm-hmm.
in plant medicines and stuff. So
Yes.
I'm grateful. And, you know, and I feel like I
Mm-hmm.
do research that's really obscure and weird. And like
Yep.
people, you know, are grateful that I'm doing that. And like,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
and just being able to recommend the books and stuff to each other,
Oh yeah.
you
It's
know.
so useful because I think that like what we have found our lives to be requires like it's like a requirement to continue learning on how all of these things connect, you know,
Right.
and how they also like apply to our particular system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to kind of watch how everybody has this different interest and how it creates into their experience in this beautiful way. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like only you could do that, you
Right.
know? And I think like in the way that you do it, you're the only person that can do it. That's for anybody else that feels like they have imposter syndrome. Nobody is going to do it like you do.
Right. Not in the same way, that's for sure.
No.
But that's beautiful.
Hmm.
All right. Could we do a short mini session so people can have a better understanding of what it could sound like?
Definitely. I brought my singing bowl today. I'm hoping that it works with the microphone. I was just like, well, I'm just going to do it.
I mean, even if it doesn't sound great, like you can get the gist of
Yes,
what
for
it
sure.
comes through. Like,
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah, we could totally do that. I'm excited.
okay.
I'm just gonna, right now, I'm just tapping into myself. And if there's any particular intention, Astral, that you kind of want to channel for the people that are coming into light language and wanting to know more, whatever it may be, I feel like you're an open channel enough to know kind of what that intention should look like. And so that way I can keep that in my mind and just kind of sit with that intention.
Okay. Like the word unification is coming up. Like
Okay.
some way of like unifying maybe all the stuff we're talking about or like
Yeah.
maybe the different energies that go into it. I don't know. That's the word that came to
No,
mind.
I love that. I can definitely do that. So, this is for all of the people listening. Just remember that when light language comes through, it's really important to pay really close attention to your breathing. It can be really disorienting. I tell this to every person because it can be disorienting.
Mm-hmm.
Probably don't listen to this while driving, um, even though it's like a great place to listen to it. But like if you're driving right now, just like pause it and then wait till you get home because you got to be really grounded when you listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it'll just be like a short little session too. And so we're going to go in with that intention of unification, unity, coming together. I'm thinking of the word community because it means come to unity.
Yes.
All right. So just take a big deep breath in and release that out. Finding that center point within your spirit, holding it so close and tight to your soul, and just letting yourself be and experience. Tirayatido, cariso. we soiti wana hituti ui sumison hutui no no no. And remember to take a big deep breath in before doing anything else. And just sitting with how that felt within your own body, and remembering that all of our systems are different and how they feel, how they interact with a certain resonance. It's so cool.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
There was a point where you were making a sound that reminded me of a bird sound, and I was like, are birds channeling light language?
Probably.
Because their sounds are affecting us as we're walking past, not even paying attention usually.
Mm-hmm. I think birds are very interesting messengers. That's so funny. Nobody has ever said that before.
Right? But it just it struck me to that same sensation of like a bird tweeting, but they all have different sounds.
That in particular, I know what you're talking about. Is something I do every time, and it's a clearing technique. I don't normally do it in that way, so that was really interesting. I like seeing how things come up, but I do want to say some of the things that came up during that. I had this, because I feel things too, like my clairaudience, clairvoyance, and everything starts coming through, and it was almost like there was a big circle, and we were all kind of connecting and feeding into this beautiful kind of energy. But it was interesting because I could visualize the people in that experience too. So it's just cool to kind of see, it almost felt like I was tapping into the people that were listening to the session and how they were experiencing it. And that's why I said what I said at the end, because it was so powerful. And then I felt this kind of tightly holding the heart space. And I felt like that was a message that I needed to bring up, is just remember to open your heart and open your mind too, to kind of any possibility that can come up. And please listen to that as many times as you want to kind of make sure what you're feeling is what you're feeling, because we need that validation,
Right. Yes. So, thank you so much for that. Is there anything else that you would like to add or expand on before we wrap up?
I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot.
I think so too. And honestly, we haven't went that far over. I just feel like we were on it.
So cool. I love that. We got to go on tangents and go on an experience too. I love that. That makes me so happy. Yes. I will say though, if anybody is really interested in this is so funny that you said what you wanted for the intention, because I really genuinely have been talking about community a lot. And
well, that's the Aquarian vibe on you.
Yeah, and also this is just kind of a general kind of sense too, is if you are looking for a community of people that understand and are inside of these experiences that you're experiencing, and you're wanting to have some place to talk about these crazy things in person, in real life, we have a really amazing shop called The Propagation of Creation. My office is in there. And I think, just having more people to connect with in this way, I feel is the most important thing that we can do, because despite whatever our differences may be, we have this core inside of us that's really asking for that connection, that community. And I would love to see more people show up. We do events honestly almost every day. If there's not an event, we will make one.
Right.
We just really value that community, that intention, and we're working towards a lot of bigger things. And I'm genuinely asking for community support with that, because I think, as my husband would say, it's all of us or none of us.
Right.
And it's true. Like, we all have to, connect and get past these things. And unity is really important right now because, so many times we can feel that conflict and that intenseness. And it's nice to just be in a space where you feel seen and honored and held through anything,
Right.
And so I am genuinely here for anybody that wants to come and have a conscious conversation. We are pretty much there every day of the week. And if not, just text me, I'll be there.
Right.
And we live so close. We're just all about community, and I would love to see more people there.
I love that. That means so much. As somebody that is, almost fully estranged from my family, my spiritual family is like really important.
We don't call each other friends, just to let you know.
It's a really big deal to me. And I really do, like, when I connect to someone in this way, like, they are, a brother or sister to me at that point. And like, we just link up, and it's been amazing. Like, I've never felt supported in my entire life until I started meeting my spiritual family.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you guys so long,
I know.
And I'll meet, like, I know when they're in it, like, I'll meet someone and I'm like, that's her,
Yep. Hey.
and like, it's funny because they'll do it too. And they'll be like, I feel like I've known you, and I'm like, I know, because we're a spirit family.
I have, and it's so cool because I get, like, I'm sure you can relate to this. Like, I get to have those experiences all the time.
Yes.
And it's like it's still shocking to me.
Yes, every time it's just as
I'm like,
beautiful
whoa.
and special.
Yeah,
and...
like, the wonder never goes away.
Right.
Ever. Like, I am always, like, my favorite emotion in the whole world is excitement.
Yeah.
And I really hold on to that. And I think it's one of the best qualities that I have, because I still have, like, I let myself be excited about life,
I feel like I use the word excited way too much. I'll be like, I'm so excited about this episode. I'm so excited about it. But I genuinely am.
Yeah.
And with my human design, my cross is at the vessel of love. So I also say I love everything. But I laughed when I discovered that, because I really am. I'm like, oh, I love her. Oh, I love this. I love that. And I always heart everything. But that's just, that's just what I radiate.
Rachel, my husband's sister, or my sister-in-law, she always says that. She's like, I love that. And, like, we've all started doing it, which I think is so funny. When I was a kid, I called that cultural diffusion, when like I think of everybody as countries, and so, like, your country rubbed off on me. It's funny.
That does sort of, when you're around people, like, you do tend to
just
pick up on little things. I accidentally pick up people's accents.
I
do not mean to do it, but, like, if I talk to a British person, I start accidentally saying things, like, at the end of the sentence, like, it'll sound British, and I'm like, why is this happening?
It's because we're, like, mirroring each other. We're like,
yes. Right? And, like, want each other to feel, like, safe in the conversation. So it's like, somehow I, like, get on their level so much that I'm like, why did I just say it like that? I don't know. But like, that person understood it, So... All right. So what's the best way for our listeners to follow you and contact you for a session?
So the best way is definitely going through Thy Harmony Collective. That is kind of where I do most of my emails and everything. You can find it on Instagram. I also have an old email address. I can't change it, but I really want to. It is thyharmonymanifest@gmail.com. You can just message me there. I just found that it's easier and more personal if I connect in that kind of way. I like making everything really personal, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
That's how you can connect with me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you. I had so much fun. I'm so glad we got to do this today. It just feels like so in alignment, and I'm so grateful to you. And I love watching it grow. Like, it's so awesome, because I remember when we were just, like, talking about it, and like, now it's like a thing all the time, and, like, you're super booked with it, which I know.
Right. And you were one of the, I think one of the first people that I was like around when I
Yeah.
sort of got the message, because I responded. Okay.
Uh-huh.
My friend suggested the podcast. I don't seek anything. And
Yeah.
in my spirit was like, yes. And I was like, oh God. And I was like
Oh,
asking,
no.
I was asking other people for like that validation of like,
Yeah.
should I pursue this? Obviously it was a yes, but like
Yeah.
I was like, really?
Really?
So
What?
like I have to be careful when people like bring stuff up to me, because I don't get to like answer. Like the conscious mind
Yep.
doesn't answer. My spirit's like, that's it, that's the next thing. And I'm like, oh, don't know if I'm mentally prepped for this.
I'm not prepared. I'm going to hide.
But look at like how beautiful it's
I know. I'm so
become.
excited. Like, it just makes me so happy to kind of watch that movement and growth. Like, that is like one of my favorite things about people that I've worked with in the past, is like watching them like live out their truth.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeatable.
Right.
Unbeatable. It's so amazing. I love it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being my
Thank you.
friend,
Yeah,
and just
thank you for being my friend.
holding space for me.
Yes, always.
Understanding
dude,
me.
always.
That's a
Yeah.
big one.
We hate being misunderstood.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. So. All right. And thank you all for tuning in. Check us out next time on the Astral Hour.